1999. We've been waiting for a Star Wars movie since 1983. It's been 16 long years. Can you believe it? We made it this long, and they released a trailer, and people went out to theaters to only watch the trailer. They bought tickets to a whole movie and then walked out after a trailer because Star Wars was back.
I spent a whole 2 days downloading a trailer on QuickTime.
I just went and saw it eventually at some point because I just didn't care that much. Because I'm like, whatever, I'm going to see the movie. I was that smart in fucking 1999. Very proud of myself. Anyhow, After the Hype. Welcome to After the Hype. Intro. Brian, Chewy, John.
Yeah.
Hello. Intro.
Quick disclaimer. I am getting over some pretty horrendous food poisoning. So I'm going to do the best I can to stick with this today, but it might be a shorter one. It might not. Who knows? Once we get into it, I might just keep going. But I do feel kind of like, and that's not a fun feeling for anyone.
You feel like Bantha Poodoo.
Oh.
Hooray! So here we are. We've started the prequel trilogy. For better or worse, some would say better, some would say worse, some would say at least it's not The Last Jedi. And to those, I'd say, fuck you. But either way.
There's lots of Jedis in this one.
Some would say too many Jedis. A problem that is very swiftly solved over the next two movies.
Yeah.
Too Many Jedis on the Dance Floor is not a long song in the Jedi universe.
Too many Jedi. Too many Jedi.
But yeah, starting out, 1999. Phantom Menace. What a movie.
It's a great movie.
What a movie. I will
we
do
could
it.
just remove the Gungan stuff. Well, not even all
Not
the Gungan
even all the
stuff.
Gungan stuff.
Just most of the Jar Jar.
I'll do a quick breakdown. Well, as much as I can. So a long time ago, in a galaxy far away, Naboo was under attack. I'm going to do this from the point of view of Obi-Wan, because that's the only way to do this one, right? So I thought that me and Qui-Gon Jinn could talk the Federation into, cutting them a little bit of slack. But their response, it didn't thrill us. They locked the door. They tried to kill us. We escaped from that gas and met Jar Jar and Boss Nass. We took a bongo from the scene and through the stream to meet the Queen. And then we all wound up on Tatooine, and that's where we met this boy. Now, this here Anakin guy, he may be Vader someday later, but now he's just a small fry. Then he left his home and kissed his mommy goodbye, saying, soon I'm going to be a Jedi. I can keep going.
And just so everyone knows.
We finally got to Coruscant, the Jedi Council I knew would want, to see how good the boy could be. Okay,
Meanwhile, this episode gets taken down by
Disclaimer.
copyright infringement.
Yes, no copyright infringement. Brian is quoting Weird Al Yankovic.
I should probably stop, or that's going to be the whole episode. And I definitely did flub one line in there, so I'm sure somebody out there's like, wrong.
Well, I'm sure Al is going to hear that and berate you on the twits.
I mean, that's fair. It's fair. I did fuck up one line.
I'm going to say the twits.
Please don't.
I want to sound as not hip as possible.
Hello, you cool kids. What's up?
But the rest of the story, if you did not know, is basically they agree to help Naboo because Palpatine wants them to. This is not the song. I'm not rhyming on purpose. And then essentially they go back to Naboo. They meet up with Darth Maul. Darth Maul kills Qui-Gon. Obi-Wan is now going to teach Anakin.
The whole movie is just Palpatine being oddly, amazingly bureaucratic and amazing at politics because he's a Sith Lord and politics are generally considered evil. And he just did all of the shit in this movie just so that Padme would say no vote of confidence in the Chancellor so that he could become Chancellor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really well done.
Yeah.
Palpatine is...
he's a smart motherfucker.
He's a smart cookie, that guy.
Yeah. Super...
He has a great future in politics.
Yeah. And I never remember if he's actually supposed to actually be from Naboo or if he is just someone who ended up living there and
I honestly don't remember.
Becoming a Sith Lord on Naboo.
In my head canon, it was kind of a lark. He visited there once and was like, that's a nice waterfall. I think I'm going to be their senator.
Yeah.
I honestly never... This is like a huge... It feels like a blank spot for me in my Star Wars knowledge because I'm usually pretty good with stuff, but I never really looked into Palpatine's backstory. for some reason just never jumped out at me. Is that weird?
Based on these movies, no, not really.
I never really did either. I don't need to know why Palpatine is Palpatine. It's one of those things where it's like I never needed to know if Mike Myers was an evil spirit or just a crazy kid. It's just like, whatever, they're evil.
I kept thinking Mike Myers like from SNL.
No. Like when they tried to give Mike Myers a backstory.
Michael Myers.
Michael Myers, sorry.
It matters for Canadian funny comedian man? Murder man.
The comedian Murder Man?
I don't need to know why Palpatine is the greatest evil in the universe. He just is.
Yeah, like you could maybe infer when we get to episode 3 that he's talking about his former master. Maybe not. I don't know. It never really sparked like any real interest in me. And it's nothing against I always blank on his name, the actor.
Ian McDiarmid.
Thank you. It doesn't really. I'm not trying to take a knock at him at all. I think he does a great job. He, for my buck, is like in the top 5 of actors throughout the entire prequel trilogy. I think he does great. He chooses the scenery in the right moments. He does it in the right moments. And I think he does a good job. There's something about Palpatine's character that throughout all of the, 5 movies he's in? 4 movies? He doesn't really do anything for me.
What, the character?
The character, yeah. Like, he's a great villain, but he doesn't do anything for me to want to see him outside of the movies he's in.
He doesn't demand the lore scavenging that we've done for a lot of other characters. It seems
exactly.
Like.
Yeah, like I don't look at him like I do Boba Fett, where I'm like, I want to see what happened to Boba. Like, how did Boba Fett get there? What happened after the Sarlacc pit? Because there is an after the Sarlacc pit. Like there's all those sorts of questions I have for a character like that. But with Palpatine, just kind of.
Is it because now that the prequels exist, it's such a complete story of him, like his rise and his fall? It's just there's nothing left. There's no secrets. There's nothing mysterious. We get it all.
I mean, I could say yes because that might be the easiest answer. But even when like this came out in '99, it was like, oh, that's Palpatine. That's probably the Emperor. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was really the end of it. Like it's just kind of like, oh, okay.
He's plotting.
Yeah,
he's a plotosaurus.
And I think that's kind of, essentially, yeah. Plotosaurus.
He's a plotosaurus.
I did not intend this.
There's so much plotting.
I did not intend this episode to start out with a Palpatine conversation. I was going to make a really mean joke, and I decided not to.
I mean, it's a beautiful mirror to modern day about, evil people being in a Senate. And saying that they're working for the greater good.
Greater good.
Yeah, when they're really just evil.
Mitch
and
McConnell.
Some of them just look awful. Like
Mitch McConnell.
The dark side is making their face melt.
Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't even know what else to say about it. Because I know a lot of people will kind of start moving through this thing a little bit more. A lot of people really, this is where I intended to start on it. A lot of people, when they saw this movie or when they go back to it or whatnot, they always kind of go, so much politics in this movie. Like, I don't remember politics in the original trilogy.
Well, because that was all post-politics.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, there's a lot of politics leading up to every world war. Guess what? Yeah, a lot of times we pay attention to the bombs afterwards more than we paid attention to all the people just squabbling beforehand.
The analogy I was going to go for would be like a prequel series to The Walking Dead and everyone complaining about all the living people that are around. It's like, well, yeah, this is what happens before that. It's like, this led to that. So the politics of it never really bothered me. I think it's kind of dry. I do think that is a problem. Like, trade negotiations and a trade blockade for what is essentially a kid's movie feels a little like...
Yeah.
It was very weird going into this movie after all that hype in the trailer and the original trilogy and being like, Trade Federation? Negotiations? Diplomacy?
I never really understood why what the Trade Federation and them were even debating.
No, in 99 I didn't get it, and in 2019 I still don't get it.
I don't know, like, what were they... Were they actually trading anything?
Our blockade is perfectly legal. But what are you blocking? What are you doing?
Maybe Naboo's in debt to them. I don't know. They never really describe why. And again, I don't know if they ever just did it in the novels or anything of that. Because I never read.
I read all 3 renditions of The Phantom Menace. I read the Timothy Zahn one, I read the kids one, and I read like a comic book one, and no.
None of them talk about why they're doing it.
Not to my recollection. I did read them all in 1999, so that was like
So it's really just
20 years ago.
Palpatine doing stuff. I don't know what the mask is exactly to make it seem legal for this Trade Federation to go against an entire planet.
For what I understand, I don't know what the whole guise is, but I think the rest of it is just exactly what you said. It's just a whole bunch of bullshit to get Valorum out so Palpatine can go in.
Yeah, I know that.
Right.
Yeah.
But
So,
the initial...
like how he convinced them? No fucking clue.
Yeah.
No idea. But if that's Palpatine, let's move into like more of the more entertaining people. And I want to start with the unfortunate casting of Jake Lloyd. I think he does as good of a job as a kid could have done in this role, and I just feel like George fucked him.
Well, he was the first example of George just being able to get the worst performance out of an actor.
Yeah. Because, I mean, Jake Lloyd didn't do a lot before he quit acting. Like, he did the only two I know
He's
of
in a
from it.
Smucker's commercial.
Sure. Maybe.
Interesting.
Pretty sure it was
really.
Smucker's.
I honestly don't remember. But I know this, and I know Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
And he wasn't
right.
a bad... Yeah, he wasn't a bad kid actor at all. I mean, we went to school with him for a little while.
I never met him. I didn't want to.
Ouch. He was
just-
nice. He checked out gear once. He's
I
nice.
was just worried that people would be like, "Oh, what are you gonna ask him?" I'm like, I don't. Just because I'm a huge Star Wars nerd doesn't mean I need to talk to him.
And if you had met him, he didn't want to talk about it.
I know he didn't want to talk about it. That's probably one of the reasons I'm like, I don't want to bother him.
Yeah.
The thing ruined his life.
Either way, that's why I say the unfortunate casting. Because I think it's one of those things where it's like, did this kind of fuck his acting career? Maybe. Because I don't think he was a bad kid actor. But there is a chance, because his performance in this movie, for the majority of it, is fine. But there's never any great moments, and there's quite a few, whoa, bad moments.
Yeah.
I'll take fine. I'll take fine from any kid actor. Great performances from a kid actor are wonderful, but they're rare. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
They're rare.
they are.
So I will take a passable kid actor, and I think Jake Lloyd was there.
Yeah, and I think some of our forgiveness of that is in hindsight now. But when I first watched it, it was like, what is this? Like I've gotten kinder to these movies in age, in my age. But I think maybe there was that initial shock of just, oh, this is the caliber of acting we're getting across the board. Okay.
Like him trying to speak other languages were just always so awkward. Nanamonu Matafa.
Yeah. Chawa.
Like, ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
His
yippee!
wife-
As he runs out of a room is like, oof.
Even his big moment with Padme on the ship where he's like, I'm cold.
It's just.
I made this for you so you won't forget me.
I
Are you an
don't know.
angel?
Like,
I could just because of how poorly later performances are from Academy Award winning actors in this series. I don't know what to hold against Jake and what to hold against George.
that's why I say, like, I will keep going back to the word unfortunate casting, or words unfortunate casting, because I don't think Jake Lloyd was a bad child actor, and I think he did the best he could with George Lucas at the helm.
Yeah.
Right.
And
They
I
just
love
probably
George
weren't
Lucas, but he's
simpatico
just not a
together.
good director.
No.
I'm sorry, John, what did you say?
I was just gonna say, like, those two probably weren't simpatico together, Lucas and Lloyd. Like, if it had been a different director on something else, it could have worked out better. But I think maybe those two just didn't work. Maybe the kid had to look. I remember watching it behind the scenes where he's like, "Oh, that kid looks like the Anakin," and then he seemed to be good enough. That seemed to be good enough for him.
Well, no one looked like Anakin because Anakin wasn't a thing yet.
Well, yes, he was.
No,
He just wore a black mask at all times.
Okay. Yeah, he looks like he could wear a plastic helmet.
He looks like a guy who'd wear a helmet.
That's what it was in the behind the scenes, like that. Oh, in my mind,
Yeah.
it was like this is how I envisioned him, and that kid got close to it. Like that worked. That worked for me. But he seemed kind of like, oh, that's what it was. That's fine. That's fine. That's
But
kind of
that was
his
always
vibe
kind
on
of
it.
Lucas's thing. Was like, hey, you had the prequel trilogy written, right? Yeah.
Sure. Definitely.
I wrote them in the 80s.
Yeah.
I've just been waiting 16 years because
Technology.
technology needed to catch up to the movies. Yep. That's
Yep.
it. I like that one. I'm gonna latch onto that. And Jar Jar Binks, here he is.
Yeah.
And this was even before like the whole like big digital push that like Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith brought in.
Actually, let's if we want to talk about CGI characters, let's actually just do that. Let's dive into the Jar Jar of it all. Jar Jar has taken a beating so horribly bad over the past 20 years that at one point the actor that portrayed him almost took his own life. Like, he has gotten destroyed.
Yeah.
And I've watched this movie since I was whatever age I was in 1999, and I've never gone, yeah, he deserved that. I've always just kind of gone, Jar Jar's fine. He's a kid's character. Who cares?
Right. The worst it's ever been for me is like that. This is a stupid character, and I don't like the character. The end.
Yeah, like he's kind of grating. He's kind of annoying, but there's more annoying characters out there. Like, this guy did not deserve the beating he got at all.
Well, the actor didn't deserve it.
No, I don't even think the character really did. Like,
I still don't like Jar Jar.
I don't either, but I don't hate him to the point where I'm just like, only the movies would have been better if he wasn't in them. No.
Well, he's not really in the other two.
I think he has like 3 lines in the next one and no lines in the third one.
Yeah.
Right.
But it is kind of nice seeing that like Disney is now doing a show with On My Best as like the host, and like he is actually kind of like he's coming out of his shell again, which is nice because it sucked. He was so proud of this character. He did exactly what he was told to do, and then ugh.
And it was fun technology to work in. He got to work like with this motion capture and like really put his voice, like do voice work on it. Like he kind of had the best of both worlds there.
The aspects of Jar Jar Binks that I always found that people really hated the most was mostly just his character. He was annoying. He's grating. He's stupid. He's always there.
Yeah.
He's in almost every important scene. He's in the ultimate climactic battle from Avengers Infinity War. Like, he's all over the place. And I think that was more of what the problem was. It was just oversaturation. And it's just like...
Oversaturation, and he brought in poop jokes into Star Wars, which there had never been poop jokes before.
So, yeah, I think it's just a mixture of all of that just led to the most hated character in Star Wars history until Rian Johnson showed up. Rian Johnson being the most hated thing in Star Wars history.
What? Is it really that bad at this point?
People still just hate Rian Johnson for Star Wars. Apparently everybody loves Knives Out, though, so go figure.
I don't meet these people. I don't think...
Well,
that's probably good.
They're just on the internet.
I've turned into more and more of an internet hermit.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
My life is a better place when I don't listen to everything the internet has to say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi, internet.
True enough. Hello, internet medium.
Moving past the Jar Jar of it all, gotta talk Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley was amazing this movie. We didn't even know who Keira Knightley was before this movie.
Keira Knightley arguably played Natalie Portman better than Natalie Portman did.
But Natalie Portman did a really cool queen deep voice.
That's true. But I think Natalie Portman's best movie is the next one. I think she's okay in this one. I don't think she's bad. I don't think she's great. I think she's just kind of a placeholder of, you're going to fuck this later.
No, she's great in Clones.
She is.
When she's not lusting after Annie.
Exactly. And this one, she doesn't have any of the lusting after Annie because, ew.
Gross.
But she does have...
the role's not that important. Like, she's the queen and all that, but they don't give her a lot of meat to work with other than just be that monotone voice and then her apparent switcheroo.
Yeah.
It's like her doing that in the behind the scenes. The movie doesn't really care necessarily that she's changing back and forth until it's suddenly relevant to the plot. So, like, the movie's not that interested in her as much as she's in it.
It's very interested in her outfits. Her outfits are
Those
gorgeous.
are some cool outfits, though.
Yeah. But, like, that's the thing, is, like, they don't really give her anything other than... maybe the last act. Like, the last act where she just kind of shows up to kick ass and take names. Like, oh, she is a cool character.
Yeah.
And I love all that. But up until
it's like the prequel to the next movie, her performance in the next movie. It's like, oh, we get a taste of it. It's like, oh, I see. This will be an interesting character.
I mean, we'll talk about it next week with Clones. But the moment in Clones when they're all captured and, like, all right, how are we going to get out of this one? And Anakin looks at her and she's just already climbing and getting herself out of the situation. It's like, Padme was a badass.
It was.
That's why it makes it so sad when you get to episode 3 and it's like, where did Padme go?
She got out.
Sexism.
She escaped out of the movie.
She went down sexism.
But she does kind of have this, like, she kind of starts at like a 5, goes to a 10, and then ends at like a -1. Like, she just has this like weird, like, I'm a good character. I'm a great character. What the fuck am I? And I'm good with the I'm a good character. Like, I'm happy with her here. She just doesn't do a lot for me. Like, there's not really a lot to talk about with Padme. It's just kind of upsetting.
Costumes were awesome.
Costumes are awesome.
Yeah. And she is fun because I do like that she is deceiving, but not without purpose.
Right.
She's protecting herself and she's protecting her people. And she's trying to play the bureaucratic game. She doesn't know she's being manipulated by a Sith Lord because why would she?
Yeah.
I mean, if she knew that Sith Lord sucks.
She's doing everything in her power to do right by her people. And, you know, that's amazing in this.
Yeah. And
it's
she
just a
decides to
lot
leave
like,
Coruscant.
you know, her daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, enough of this politic. I'm going back and I'm taking what's mine.
Yeah.
Like, and the Jedi are just trying to keep up with her. It's
she's
great.
going to free them. She at least wants to be with her people while they suffer.
Yeah. Her place is with her people.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think she's like I said, the last third of the movie, she's great. It's just up until then, it's like, eh.
She's feeling things out. She's seeing who she can trust.
My favorite thing with her before that last third is her and Qui-Gon. I love her and Qui-Gon because she thinks she's pulling one over on a Jedi at all times. And Qui-Gon is just like, oh, aren't you cute?
Qui-Gon, now there's a Jedi that you love, but then after seeing this movie a few times and seeing everything that happens later, you're like, oh my, no, you're hubris.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was a cocky
Qui-Gon,
Jedi.
Stop being so hubris.
But
I'm using that word wrong, but
to move into Qui-Gon, that's why I love Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon is my favorite character. Yeah, my favorite character out of the prequel trilogy that's only in the prequel trilogy.
He's so flawed in a fun way, like that the other Jedi don't get a chance to be. Like, he's just imperfect. He makes mistakes. He's got the hubris, you know. He's doing the hubris thing.
No, it's not even that. It's just more so that he doesn't. I don't want to say he doesn't care. That's not the right way to say it. But like,
he cares too much.
No, it's definitely not that. It's like Obi-Wan at one point says that if you just followed the rules, you'd be on the council instead of fighting with them. And it's like, but that's never going to be Qui-Gon. Qui-Gon doesn't want to follow the rules. He wants to. He is a good person. He is a great Jedi. But when it comes down to, like, I'm going to be a great Jedi by doing what I know and how I feel and working with the Force and just letting the Force flow through me and not having to follow these restrictions that would get me higher ranked in the organization, he doesn't care. He just wants to do his job because he loves his job. And I think that's a very admirable character, and it's a character that would fit in way more in the new trilogy that we have now, because that's the sort of Jedi order that I think Qui-Gon always kind of wished for. Like, we don't need these super hard, rigid rules because that just leads to dismay. And
because there's bureaucracy in the Jedi Order as well.
Exactly. And Qui-Gon doesn't stand for that. So
yeah.
Like, I think Qui-Gon fits with, like, the new idea of Jedi that we're currently watching more than he did in any of the other versions of the Jedi. And I think that's why I like him as much as I do. I think he's a great character. What do you guys think?
I don't know. He is a great character. It takes the whole no attachments to heart, though. His complete disregard or just acceptance of separating a young boy from his mother, his only family. He doesn't really seem to scoff at that at all or have any motivation to try to save his mother.
I think that's where he knows his limitations.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that also makes it so interesting too. For as into a newer order of Jedi as he is, he still has that battle of, like, this, like you said, Chewie, the attachments too much. He knows his play. He kind of knows his boundaries, but he's also pushing against them. And it's watching it again. I like you said, Brian. I really
I'm
liked
curious.
what I saw.
What do you mean by that?
Which part?
But what is he pushing against?
The rigid order, the Jedi Order, the bureaucracy. He's pushing against that.
How? I don't know what.
Oh, he does it the whole movie. Like, that's when he just ignore. Like, he says he wants to take on Anakin as a Padawan. It's like, well, you already have a Padawan. He's like, yeah, whatever. Well, then he'll take him. Like, he just.
Okay. Well, I was thinking of it in relation to Anakin's mother. I didn't.
Oh, with Anakin's mother, I think it was him knowing his limitations, or it was a matter of he trusted the Force. The boy was supposed to come with him, and he knew that.
Okay.
Or it could be, is that just what all the Jedis do? They don't have to leave their parents. You can't be attached to your parents.
Well, that's the whole point, is that they were never supposed to know their parents.
Yeah.
They're supposed to find the children when they're very young infants, and then apparently all these parents just give their kids up.
Yeah, it's the Jedi
Because the Jedi aren't supposed to have spouses, so they're not making any of their own babies. It kind of almost feels like they're Peter Panning the universe.
Yeah, the Jedi were kind of fucked up.
Yeah, they're just taking people's kids.
That's why it was time for the Jedi to end.
Yeah.
Let me at them. I want to bring balance to them.
I'm saving the king of the show for the end, so I think we should move on to the saddest one-off villain.
Oh, I thought we were going to move on to Obi-Wan.
That's the king of the show.
Yeah.
He's the best thing in the entire prequel trilogy. I'm saving him for the end of almost every episode of this because he's amazing in all of them. Whereas Darth Maul, he kind of Boba Fetted himself here. Here's a character with nothing that everyone loves.
I didn't... I loved him when I was younger. Now seeing him as more of an adult, I'm like, Darth Maul's fucking sexy.
I thought that was going another way.
No. He
No,
is,
I sensed
though.
with the Force that I was about to get thirsty up in this.
I don't know how else to say it. Like, Darth Maul's wonderful. He just looks great. His voice, yeah.
He's got a
His
good
abilities, like...
When he's staring down at Obi-Wan, it's just like, yes, you have the high ground. You totally have the high ground.
There's something about his design that, like, did either one of you get the Star Wars magazine back in the 90s?
Of course. We still have a bunch of the issues.
Okay,
Star Wars Insider.
There was a moment when the prequels were first announced and whatnot, and they were first decided to announce who Darth Maul was. And they did so by putting his face just on the cover. And it's the first time I'd ever seen him. And that just showed up in my mailbox. I'm like, whoa! Who is
I'm not
this
sure
guy?
if we
I
still
do
have
remember that cover,
issue.
yeah.
Yeah, it was...
We didn't save every issue of Insider. A bunch of them are still back home.
Sure, but that was an intense cover. And
Yeah.
it's just like, oh, this guy means business. I am into this. I am so excited for that. Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, and his entrances in this movie are so distinct. Every time he enters the frame in the beginning of any scene he's in, the few that he is in, it's just a sharp shock of just like, that's cool. What is this?
Yeah.
Like,
And he's just
when
terrifying.
oh yeah,
Like, at all times, he is just freaky as shit. And I really, really, really hate the trailer for giving away the double lightsaber.
oh yeah.
But it was such it was a really well edited moment.
It was.
With the music and everything.
Oh my god. And they still use that song now. In the current trailer for Rise of Skywalker, you hear the...
So good.
Because Duel Fates is one of the best songs ever written for Star Wars.
Well, that's the next one we're going to talk about. Like, if there's a king, there's also a queen, and that's the soundtrack, that song.
Specifically that song. The entire score
That
is great.
song.
John Williams is great, but that song was just amazing. The whole chorus, all of it, so good. But Darth Maul, I love how many fans are willing to hold on to the fact that he's still alive because of Clone Wars and because of Solo, I guess.
He was also alive in the comic books.
In the comic
before
books,
Disney bought them.
because so many people loved his design. It's the same thing sort of like Boba Fett. That's why I said he Boba Fetted himself. Like, here's a character who looks really cool, doesn't do a lot, but we all love him.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of
He
unfortunate.
did more than Boba Fett did.
He absolutely
He
did
had a
more.
whole fight.
He absolutely did more than Boba Fett. But like for me, the push and pull of it all is just, why the fuck did George kill him? Because George, when he made these movies, had no intention of him coming back. Him coming back was all of the fans and the writers and the other people who came back to it was like, no, there's more to do with Darth Maul. That guy's not done yet. But in George Lucas's mind, he was killing him. Why?
Yeah.
Because he needed to make room for Anakin to be the apprentice.
Yeah, do that in episode 3. Give
Or
us
like-
at least... The final
make a
showdown
journey
between
of it.
Anakin and Darth Maul in 3 would have been awesome.
I don't. Maybe because he really wanted to bring in. I forgot
Grievous?
his name. Or Darth. I was gonna say Darth Sidious.
Darth
No,
Dooku.
Sidious is a long time ago. Dooku.
Count Dooku. Yes.
Count Dookie.
Darth Dooku. I don't remember.
Count Dooku with his cane saber.
Oh boy.
It's just like that was the wrong call. Like it was just the wrong. Like, somebody should have been like, "Hey, do you remember the '70s when we were like George? No," and they like slapped him with a ruler. Somebody should have gotten that ruler out with this movie. Like, all right, and this is when Darth Maul dies.
Yeah, there were.
No, George, it's a bad George.
George did not have all of the editors.
No,
Editors of his script, editors of some. He didn't have Spielberg and cocaine on his side going, maybe we can make this a little bit better.
And it's a problem, like having the Darth Vader character, having the character be so cool like this, and have him be an actual stunt guy who can do all these great movies. Having it just be out the gate like awesome, and then killing him off, you've ruined everything else. Like when you go from Darth Maul to every other person after in this prequel trilogy, it's kind of a bummer.
To actually mention Darth Maul is played by Ray Park.
Yeah, Ray Park. Did I not say that? I thought I did
Yeah.
earlier.
Did you?
I might not
I
have.
forgot it.
I might not have.
I don't know. This is not the most well-organized episode we've ever had.
Food poisoning.
Food poisoning. It gets into your system.
Really?
It jarbles you all up.
The fact that I'm still talking is impressive. But no, I think Ray Park did a great job. Like it was always kind of like I loved hearing him talk about playing Toad in X-Men after sometime around this. I don't remember if it was before or after this. And he's like, I'm just so excited to finally play a role where people can see my face.
Right.
Poor Ray Park. Is that pretty much everyone? Oh no, we have a whole Jedi Council we have to talk about before we get to Obi-Wan.
Oh,
yeah. Yoda actually has a character
And
now.
Mace Windu.
Mace Windu is there as well for a scene or two.
He's
thinks
just
about
chilling.
stuff.
Mace Windu just shows up and goes, I'm going to be in the next ones. Just wait. I'm going to be there.
He interviews Anakin, and he makes him tell him what's on his screen, his iPad.
Yeah, he plays the same game that like Bill Murray does in the beginning of Ghostbusters.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah,
Just less
checks
pervy.
out. This is some high-tech Jedi Council wibbly wobbly.
It's definitely wibbly wobbly. A ship, a star, a speeder,
A cup.
a cup.
I have a lot of metachlorians in my blood.
I wasn't going to mention those fucking things. There's so much that I love about this movie, and then there's so much to hate. Midichlorians.
It's not the metachlorians' fault.
Then
Just
whose fault is it?
Scientologists. I don't know.
The interesting thing with the whole Jedi Council is having seen the original cut of Phantom Menace with Puppet Yoda.
Yeah.
And then they changed it later for the DVD release. And wow, that one's an interesting one. Like as far as big changes go, like you don't think too much of the prequel trilogies get the change in the DVDs, but yeah, they changed Yoda completely, and I kind of missed the puppetry that they had from Phantom Menace. There was something.
I don't. I feel so bad not wanting a puppet because I'm always so pro practical,
But he was the wrong color. He looked greasy for some reason.
he looked like a puppet. Like
Yeah,
the thing about
but
Yoda, you go back to the 80s, Yoda looked like a living creature. The puppet in this movie looked ridiculous.
It's like
Maybe it's just that like the CGI that they replaced it with didn't work for me. Like watching it the second time, it was
the
like
CGI's not great. I'll
No,
admit.
it's not.
It's not.
the lines all fell so much flat. Like maybe just across the board, the puppet was not great, but like the CGI was also not good either. Anytime Yoda spoke, it's like I had to look closer and squint to see if his lips were moving because they never quite got the lips doing anything. And just like his eyes were animated well, I guess, but like.
I honestly think like I like that he's more uniform across the prequel trilogy. So being CGI in all three, I kind of appreciate. But I agree he doesn't look that great here. I honestly think he looks pretty damn good in 3 when we get to it.
Yeah.
But in this one, no, he doesn't look that good. But at the same time, I'd rather to
I didn't like the puppet because it looked like the species, but it didn't look like Yoda to me.
Yeah, it looked like Yoda's cousin.
Yeah.
What's up? I'm Broda.
Like his older uncle or something.
Yeah, it didn't work. And the rest of the Jedi Council's there.
Yeah.
They all got backstories. The guy with the white beard and the really tall head.
Yeah.
He was the star of the Star Wars comic book series for a very long time.
He was a pain in the ass in the Obi-Wan game for the Xbox.
Yeah, he had a lot of good stuff going on.
Yeah. I actually liked all the Jedi Council. I think all the design, that's just taking a way step out of who we're talking about. The design of all the aliens in this movie, even the Gungans, I think were pretty good.
Yeah.
I hate any of the designs.
Yeah, I thought they were all kind of interesting. They're all kind of fun. There's some callbacks to original characters, and there's a lot of new ones, and I think they did a good job. I was so excited about seeing Samuel Jackson in this movie, and then I saw him in it. He sat in a chair.
He had a very well-shaved head.
He did. And I remember, I told Chewie this when we were watching it. I remember watching it and going, he can't be a Jedi. He's too old. Like, he's too old to play that character. There's no way that works.
He was like in his 50s.
He might have been in his 40s. Like,
no.
I was a judgmental child. Yeah, I think you might be right. He might have been.
Yeah, geez. Wow.
Sam Jackson is timeless. But I remember being like, I don't know. And then, okay, yeah, I guess he's there. I guess as long as he's not fighting, it's not a big deal. Little did I know.
Later on.
He has some pretty awesome sequences. All right, let's just do it. Let's dive into Obi-Wan.
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 Or rather, Obi still my beating heart because, wow.
I love looking at Ewan McGregor in this movie and going, oh, you're just so young. Look at you. It looks like you just got off your heroin binge.
Hey.
Look at that little cute face right there.
Yeah.
Choose life. I choose you, Obi-Wan.
I do not like Padawan's hair.
Padawan hair is real dumb.
Yeah.
The fucking side rat tail thing they have.
Yeah.
It's all just real dumb.
Spiky.
It's the space mullet, sci-fi mullet.
Yeah, it was 90s space cool. That's what I'll call it. It was real stupid.
I just looked up Samuel Jackson's age. He's 70 years old right now.
Jesus Christ.
Which means he would have been exactly 50.
Holy jeez. Wow.
Well,
the Force was
he would
good
have
to
been
him.
in his 40s when he when he filmed the movie.
Okay.
We're both right.
Fine.
Recorded the movie on a gramophone.
Food poisoning.
His next movie is
God, he was that old?
Donor.
Wow.
I don't know.
Was that a joke?
No, that's really... It says upcoming movie, The Organ Donor.
I'm just saying, like, his next movie is dead.
And have you heard of his next picture? It's called Coffin.
Okay, Obi-Wan.
Oh my God, I just noticed.
For some of you out there in the interweb world, you've probably stumbled across this video saying, what if Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace was good? And then this guy gets on the screen and is like, what if it was good? Like, really good. And then he goes through this very long 10 to 15 minute pitch of completely restructuring Episode 1 around Obi-Wan. It's actually a really interesting video. The guy did a good job. He did one for all three movies. By the time he gets to Episode 3, he doesn't even really mention the movie anymore because all that he changes throughout Episodes 1 and 2 basically make 3 void.
That's fine, because the 3 and the worst one.
We'll get to it. Did you say it's the worst one? You'd rather watch Clones? This is a shocking revelation to my marriage.
You heard it here first,
I
folks.
like the stuff on Camino.
Okay.
Stupid romance. Hate the romance. Hate the romance.
What are your feelings on sand? I don't want to spoil next week.
I would ride around in sand for hours in a baking sun.
But honey,
if I
it's
didn't
dry
have to
and it
watch
gets everywhere.
that stupid romance ever again in my life.
You don't even like the romance song?
The song actually is pretty good.
The part when
Across
he
the Stars?
levitates a pear to her mouth, I just want to go, leave, leave, leave. This is an unhealthy relationship.
Next
Red flags.
Next week, we'll talk about the amazing movie that is Attack of the Clones. Ooh. It's like all those lines I was talking about earlier with Anakin. It's like, oh, he had a bad line here or there. Attack of the Clones, a whole movie. Ooh.
Attack of the Clones is like, hold my beer.
I couldn't tell you more the amount of rage that thinking about it and whatever.
I guarantee what my quote will be next week. It has something to do with
All
sand.
I know, okay, yes, Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan in this movie.
Food poisoning.
Again, sexy, but without the hair. Ignore the hair.
Shave his head? You don't like bald guys.
I don't like his haircut.
Grow his hair
If you
out.
just take Qui-Gon's hair and put it on Obi-Wan, and then we got something really good going.
So you want,
There's
like,
a disturbance in the
Jesus
Force, and I
Obi-Wan?
like it.
Okay.
But it was really fun to watch Obi-Wan be young.
Yeah.
And a little brash and a little showy. And he doesn't have all the knowledge yet.
But also kind of a bookworm.
Kind of yeah.
But that's what you'd expect
he's
from...
trying to be a good Jedi.
Yeah, but that's kind of what you'd expect from the Alec Guinness version. Of like, he kind of will wink at the rules, but he will never break them.
Yeah.
Like, he'll kind of like... I'll get away with whatever I can.
I understand why the rules are there.
Yeah, rules are meant to be bent.
I'll work with them.
Like he's not a rule breaker, but he is definitely like, I want to push my boundaries a little bit, just a little bit. Like, I'm the best student in the class, who's also everyone's favorite student, and like, I don't mean any of that in a bad way. I think Ewan McGregor was the perfect cast for that style of Obi-Wan, which is exactly kind of what you thought he'd be, and that's why I brought up that video earlier, because I think that's the number one thing that guy got right. Was these movies would have been that much better if Obi-Wan had been the main character throughout and not Anakin. I get why it's Anakin. I totally understand where George is coming from about it being the Skywalker saga. I'm there.
Right.
I get it. Obi-Wan would have been a better movie.
Yes.
Well, and it's just, he's so, like, the charisma is amazing from the get-go. Like, you're watching me, like, even now, the second time, like, the dozenth or whatever time I've seen this, as soon as Obi-Wan hits the screen, I'm like, oh, you're the only one I want to watch.
Yep. It's like, oh, wow. So you are super... Well, not the only one. Qui-Gon is awesome in this movie.
And I like Padme.
I like Padme. That's what I was saying. This is good Padme. Next movie's great Padme. Then it's under the ground Padme. Both figuratively and literally. She does die. Spoilers.
I'm going to moan during the majority of Revenge of the Sith.
I can already tell you my quote for that one, too. It's one word, stretched very long. Spoilers. I have very fun quotes for each one of the prequel trilogies. My one for this one is fantastic. But other than all that, I think the thing that this movie does best is Obi-Wan, and I think that's primarily because of both Ewan McGregor, and it's just the strongest character we have so far because he's the most established character we've had so far.
Yeah.
He does appear in all three of the original trilogy. He's a dead guy in two of them, but he does show up. And it just made sense that's the easiest one to translate back to here, and then you get an amazing actor to play this character well. And I think we had.
And I think Ewan McGregor was very good at being able to, like you said, follow the rules, listen to the director's direction, but also go, I'm gonna make this a good character.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, George. Yeah, I know how to be Obi-Wan. Okay.
Yeah. So if that's all the major characters and kind of like all the major stuff that we've kind of flown through and talked about here and there's one major thing that always kind of stuck with me about Phantom Menace versus, well, I guess the rest of the prequel trilogy kind of follows down this road. But you go to the original trilogy, which we've already reviewed. Go check them out. And it's very fantasy, sci-fi, fantasy, kind of wishy-washy, but definitely more fantasy than sci-fi. It's a fantasy movie with a sci-fi coat of paint. And you get to these movies, and I feel like that fantasy element just gets upped tenfold. Like, the Jedi, like, say, Luke, he does one force jump in Empire, but otherwise his force abilities are always kind of like, they're a little limited.
Because he never had full training.
Sure, but still, even in Jedi, he never really feels like this crazy of a Jedi. Like, even at, like, Jedi Master Luke, he doesn't do anything completely bananas.
He wasn't a Jedi Master.
Or Jedi Knight Luke. Sorry. Yeah. He doesn't do anything that completely insane. These movies, all three of the prequels, are completely filled with Jedis who just do insane shit all the time. Their lightsaber battles, gone are the days of Luke just fucking hacking away at Vader, or just trying to deflect things, or just slowly respecting each other and just kind of touching swords at each other, like in A New Hope. And now we have it's just complete bananas.
Exactly
Well,
like that, how you said.
Combination of
Yep.
better technology in our world,
Yep.
and I stand by. They all had full training. They all knew exactly what their abilities were. They didn't have but one session in a ship training and then a couple days on a planet with an old guy training. They had an entire lifetime from an infant
Yeah.
being taught how to touch the Force, let it flow through you. These are the things you can do. Let's practice it a whole bunch. You don't get to be a real full-time Jedi till you're in your 20s. Like, this is a completely different world.
Yeah. And I think that it bumped me, I think, a little bit back in the 90s when this thing started. Because I just remember going like, this isn't the Jedis I remember. It's fine because it's awesome, but it's not what I remembered. And I always thought it kind of stick with me more. And then as I've gotten older, I've kind of come around more to where you're at of like, well, it makes sense in a weird way, but it does kind of track.
Oh, it tracked for me right away back
Yeah.
then. I was just like, oh yeah, okay. These are the Jedis that they know what they're freaking doing. Luke was great. I love Luke. Luke never really knew what he was doing. He's running through his coattails most of the time.
He's a terrible sword fighter. Terrible.
Yeah. Well, and it never that part never threw me so much as this. It was just a different vibe to be in, and it was an adjustment going from the prequel or the original trilogy OT to this in terms of its, the quality of sword fighting. Having that shift was a little bit more jarring. Not that it wasn't a problem, but it is a shift. It's an adjustment, and it is one. It's
No matter how much Abrams thinks he's going to tie all of these movies together, all three trilogies have such a distinctly different feel.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how that's
I
going
don't
to turn.
think Abrams thought he was tying all the movies together. I think that's just Disney going.
He said it.
I just
He might have been told to say it, but the words came out of his
ignore
mouth.
this stuff. I'm like, the Skywalker saga ended at Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
That was just the whole. You're telling me you're going to end the Skywalker saga with no Skywalkers in it.
Maybe. I'm not saying I'm happy with any of this stuff. I'm just saying maybe. And technically, no, never mind.
The only thing that I thought after watching this movie is maybe Rey's a clone of Anakin
I could see that.
because of how silly clever she is in the first movie and somehow good at everything in the first movie, similar to Anakin in this movie.
But she
That
doesn't
would
say anything
track.
about hating sand. So I don't
know
they
about a
didn't lay
feeling
the
sand.
foundation for this.
Well,
She didn't mention anything about hating sand or how it gets everywhere. Seriously, next week I'm so
no,
excited.
she's a woman. She's not as stupidly bitchy.
As a woman, she's like, yeah, I'm in a desert, fuckface. There's sand.
Oh, great. That actually, if she had said that literally, that would have been really funny. I'd be down for all of
Say
them.
fuck face.
So would I. I just want to see Daisy Ridley call somebody fuckface. I bet she'd say it spectacularly.
Yeah. With her just
fuckface.
glistening teeth. Have you ever paid attention to her teeth?
Yeah, they're impossible not to
Yes.
see.
Yes, I
They're
have.
looking at you.
Oh God, Daisy, put those away.
You can't stop me. I'm a Jedi from Jakku.
You're going to put someone's eyes out with that.
Yeah, she needs to play as relatives of Julia Roberts at some point.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
It's the teeth show.
If Gina Davis be their grandma. And was bite everybody.
Oh, God. You're hurting my
Gina Davis
back
would
with how
be
much you
amazing
make me
as,
laugh.
her mom in something.
Yeah.
Let's cast a movie. Gina Davis and Daisy Ridley in a movie together. Do it now. Go. Hollywood.
Why did Julie Roberts get booted out?
I like Gina
Too many
Davis.
teeth, ladies.
Gina Davis just has her face looks more like it because she's got boxier face.
I could see it.
Julia Roberts has a very long face.
Very true. I think we've circled the drain on Phantom Menace. If we're not
think we
talking about
have.
the shapes of faces. That means it's time for quotes, and you better fucking believe I'm going first. So the one thing we didn't mention at all
We
in this
didn't
episode.
talk about anything about the droids, the ships, the
droids-
costumes outside of Padme.
No, but the major thing we didn't talk about that I'm sure somebody out there is going like, what the fuck? I didn't talk about it because it's been covered to death. The pod race.
The pod race.
We get it. It's cool. There, you happy?
Yeah.
We mentioned it.
I'll throw in the thing with the costumes real fast. Other than Padme's outfits, a lot of like the politicians on Naboo are dressed like they're from freaking Shakespeare. It is kind of strange.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Anyhow, out of the pod racing though, of course comes my favorite line. And it comes from Sebulba, a character we didn't really mention at all because we didn't really talk about the pod
He's
racing.
not really that important.
But he has the best line in the movie. And the reason it's the best line in the movie is because I am convinced it's the only hard fuck in any Star Wars movie. It just happens to be in a different language, and they don't subtitle it. So after Anakin is wrestling with him, and they're going towards the finish line, and Anakin gets away, and Sebulba's pod blows up and crashes on the ground, and Sebulba crashes and slides and flips up on a rock, and then lands, and he sits there, and he goes, "Hoodoo!" And I imagine that's him just going, "Fuck!" but in a different language.
Totally. I'm with you on that.
So my quote or word is "Hoodoo!" because it's awesome.
My quote is, "Woo!"
That's a good one.
Anakin.
I would have gone for yippee,
Yeah.
but you know.
Yeah. Jake, are we going to do another take? Jake might have
No.
even asked to do another take. And George was like, no, that's good.
All right, just say yippee as you run out of the room, kid. Yippee! Can I do another one? That was awful. You're done.
You're done.
Do I have to be? Go play video games in your trailer. I have coke to miss.
I don't know if George was still doing coke when these movies
That's
were
why I said miss.
Yeah, to miss, yeah.
To mourn.
No cocaine.
All right, so my quote, and it's been one that I've enjoyed every time I've watched this, and it's from Obi-Wan. And it's after they jump down and see the droid army heading down, getting ready to head down to Naboo. And he's like, "You were right about one thing, Master. The negotiations were short." And he smiles, and I'm like, "God, you're a big deal. I like you."
Yeah, he's clever, that guy. Review system for this week. Describe your pod. Racer. Pod racer. Mine's going to be pretty simple. I'm going for Quadranero's pod. I'm just going to take his entirely. He's the guy who has the 4 engines that explode and fly all over the place whenever he gets a race. Because it looks awesome. It looks like if it had worked, it would have been really cool. It would have been great. But it didn't just quite get off the starting line. And it's kind of unfortunate. But what I saw, I really enjoyed. I just wish it was a little better.
I think I'll go with just one giant engine out front and just hope to God I can get through the course.
I don't think it's going to go very well for you, but, good luck.
Yeah. Requires the use of the Force.
Last but not least.
I'm going to go with a pod that is designed like Speed Racer.
So a car.
Yeah. Because for some reason, even though it can fly, it chooses to still stay on the ground, pretty much. It doesn't really go too far. They could really go wherever they wanted to. I guess maybe if there's rules about staying on a track, whatever.
And Anakin does kind of fly.
But it's very child friendly. It is very fast. You're very good at it I haven't really watched Speed Racer too much. But you're the best around.
No one's ever going to take you down?
No one's ever going to take you down. And you have a lot of colorful characters all around you that make the show better than it would be if it was just about you.
Fair enough. I liked it.
All right.
It worked.
Yeah.
So, car.
I don't know what to do.
I liked it.
I like that as a script note. You add could this be just a car?
I said it could look like Speed Racer.
George, you have heard of racing before, right? It's not like you're inventing the wheel here. All right.
Do you remember American Graffiti? They had a lot of cars then?
You've done racing before, George. We did it. We Phantom Menaced. We did everything that we could. We were as nice as we could. We definitely skipped over the pod racing because...
We skipped over a lot of stuff.
We did.
There's a lot of little things in this movie.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Just like the movie.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Nowhere near as bad as people want it to be. Nowhere near as good as it should have been. And that's okay, too.
Because the original trilogy will always exist, and there will always be a beacon of light. Be like, this is why we have everything else.
Yep. So I'm bringing back a segment that we used to do before we started all the Star Wars movies. Very quickly, do you recommend? It's very important in the prequel trilogy because, yeesh. I can firmly say, yes, I recommend this movie. I'd even say recommending like watching like the one with CGI Yoda over the original, if you still have that one somehow. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's fun. I think kids will enjoy it for the most part, as long as they don't get too bored by the politics stuff. But that's really only in the beginning for the most part. And it's got E.T. in it. Who doesn't love E.T.?
I, of course, would recommend
E.T.'s
this
pissed,
movie.
but he's in it.
Whether or not my feelings towards Jar Jar, you're not wrong. He's a good character for kids. They don't hate him like we do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a good kids movie. I'm never going to deny it that. George got what he wanted out of it. It's not what everyone else wanted for a new Star Wars film at the time.
Nope.
But we still got some good adult stuff. We got a damn good looking Darth Maul.
Yeah. And Obi-Wan.
And Obi-Wan.
John, what about you?
Oh, man,
Do
we
you
need
recommend?
Yes. I mean, I'm not going to be very interesting in these answers because, yes, I recommend.
Yeah.
Just, it's part of Star Wars. If you're in it, if you like Star Wars, in general, just this is a part of it. And the good, the bad, like the fact that there's more Star Wars movies, that there were more Star Wars movies, and it was all just, despite the quality and what we thought of the movie, it's more Star Wars. And I love Star Wars.
Fair enough. All right, let's move into plugs and let's say goodbye, because we did manage to fill an hour like I thought we might, and I feel like I am getting food poisoning all over again, and I want to fall asleep. So, plugs. I'm going to do my age-old classic, athpod.com. Check it out. We have pretty much everything on there. If you're in anything pop culture, we have something there for you. Venture Brothers is coming back, so, definitely keep an eye out for it. We are going to be back, I think by the time, maybe on the same day this episode drops, our episodes might be back at it.
Yeah.
That is the plan right
I think
now.
so.
Yeah. So today, go check out Venture Brothers. We're finishing up season 6. And then it's on to season 7.
They're going
And then we're done.
to release another season.
In like 20 years. It sucks being a Venture Brothers fan.
Maybe sooner.
But maybe not. That's the whole problem.
By the time we get back to it, Dean's going to be married, have some kids.
He's gonna still be dabbing.
Rusty.
Dab. Did you dab? I dab. Stop saying dab.
Rusty is
Dead.
probably
Somebody finally killed that
probably
fucker.
dead. The monarch
finally
is
got him.
now the matriarch of the Ventures because he finally figured out that he is Jameson's son.
Yeah.
Because Jameson definitely slept with his mom.
You are spoiling the shit out of season 7 if people aren't caught up.
Oh shit!
Oh wow!
They hinted to that.
Just
before.
have to bleep the whole thing out. Just have to bleep the whole thing out.
They did hint to that in season 6. You are right.
They did.
But they definitely confirmed the fuck out of it in 7.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I'm
not bleeping any of
When's
that.
the photo of them on a blanket together playing? When's season?
5.
Yeah. See, you're at that there, right there. You're like, they might be brothers.
Yeah. And then they are. Yeah. And then it's awesome. John, what about you? What are you plugging?
Demon Days. We're getting to the end of the year in terms of campaign, and then we're taking a bit of a break in end of December, January. And yeah, it's going to end with a bang.
Fun. Chewie, you still plugging Superstore?
Yeah. Watch Superstore. It's great.
Really watch Superstore. It's great.
It's great.
Out of the 2 people at this table, I watch it all the time.
Quite often, it is actually the #1 show on NBC sometimes during the week.
It deserves it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's it. That's everything, right? We did it.
Yeah,
We did it. We're done.
we did it.
Yay.
We made it.
Oh, boy. So tune in next week.
Yay!
Tune in next week when we finally tackle Attack of the Clones. Bye.